Hi everybody, Dawn here again, and this is part 2 of my masterclass on dowsing to improve your accuracy of your dowsing process. Now, in the first video I explored the mechanism for dowsing, where we get the information on and what can impede the movement of our chosen dowsing tool. In this video I'm going to be covering programming and calibrating your dowsing tool. Now, whatever tool you're choosing to use, this information will apply across. But I am going to concentrate on pendulums and rods. So first, let's look at programming your dowsing tool. Now, programming is a fancy way of saying finding out what your yes and your no answer is. Now, some dowsers do choose the swing that they want for yes and no and train their pendulums or rods. I, however, allow that to emerge once I've asked a question. So let's start with the pendulum. If you pick it up, hold it, set it into what we call a neutral swing. Most dowsers will start a pendulum in this neutral swing because it has the advantage of breaking inertia, which is the tendency of objects in motion to stay in motion and objects at rest to stay at rest unless a force causes its speed or direction to change. I find my pendulum much more responsive when I set it to swing back and forth. Now, the other benefit of a neutral swing is that it causes a clear transition between questions so that you can be clear on how it's answered you. If you get an answer, then you pop it back into the neutral swing before you ask your next question, and that way answers don't merge together. Now, next is to find your yes and your no. Now, I like to ask my pendulum to show me a no response. The pendulum will then swing in a way that indicates that, so clockwise here for me. Then pop it back into the neutral and ask it to show you a yes response. Your pendulum should swing a different way. Now, if you want to enforce a particular swing direction, all you need to do is to tell the pendulum, this is the response for no, and make the pendulum swing in the way that you want it to, and then do the same for yes. But as I say, I like to allow my pendulum to swing itself. Now, it's the same process for rods, although we don't use a neutral swing. Neutral for the rods is really what we call the search position, so straight out in front of you. And again, move your hands and wrists, get used to how they feel. Now pop them back into the search position, then ask the rods to show you a no response. They cross for me, back to neutral, and then a yes response, and they're out, back to neutral. So that's simply finding your yes and your no. Now, some people do continue and find a response for not sure or prefer not to answer, etc. However, I don't. And the answer to why I don't will be covered in the video on asking questions. All I need is a yes or a no. The strength of the response might indicate, if it's not flowing freely, that maybe we're tensing our muscles, or maybe our question isn't as accurate as it needs to be. So we will cover that in the asking questions video. So to calibrate your responses, I suggest that you ask lots of yes and no questions that you know the answer to. That way you and your dowsing device can get used to each other. You can also ask questions that are true and untrue, so that you get to learn to trust the answers that you're being given. It's good to get confident asking questions that you know the answers to first and foremost, before you ask questions that you don't consciously know the answer to. Now, other ways to calibrate is to work consciously with your mind and your dowsing tools. You can ask your dowsing device to rotate or turn a particular direction. And by doing this, you'll see how we're connected to our tool by our mind. So let me show you that now. So I can say to my dowsing rods, point to my left. Back into the neutral. And I can say, point to the right. I can say the left to point left and the right to point right. As you can see, the connection with our mind and our dowsing tool is quite clear there. So, given that, we will need to examine how do we create a mind state of dowsing that's going to allow the information to flow through, but that is in the next video. Now, the final thing that I want to say in this video about our yes and no answer is that it can change each time you dowse. There are lots of reasons for this. Sometimes it's our own state of mind, maybe it's our personal energetics, or even the electromagnetic influences around us. It was Maria Wheatley who first taught me that a smartwatch interferes with our dowsing, which makes perfect sense. To get over this, always calibrate your dowsing responses each time you dowse by checking in on what your yes and your no response is. Don't be surprised if it changes, as it will on occasion, so get into the habit of checking each dowsing session. So that's all there is to it. In the next video, we're going to be looking at the dowsing state of mind, which I say is another key to accurate dowsing. Ta-ta for now.